Okay, today we're going to talk about questions you need to be asking yourself before each week of investing that you plan. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. A little bit longer intro than usual and a little bit of a different topic. Again, trying to mix things up for you based on some of the questions that I keep fielding. As you probably know from following me, I have a very deep finance background, banking background, former C-level bank executive, three-time startup founder. One of the things that I do is a lot of investing on my own. And in this instance, when I talk about investing, I'm talking about investing in the stock market, which has been on a wild ride. Right now may not be the best time to buy, but then again, could be because, when the markets are down is a good time to go in when other people are selling off. But this weekend, I got to thinking through or going through my own weekend process when I think about trades that I'm going to make in the coming week, or if I'm going to make trades in the coming week. I don't trade every single week. But I got to thinking through the process and I realized that it could be good information to share with you. So I'm going to give it a shot today and see how you guys like it. So every week, planning for the week ahead, when I might be making some trades, I stop and ask myself a lot of key questions that help guide my trades. Now, these are not questions that you're going to ask about particular individual stocks. These are more questions on a global mindset, industry mindset, even that I ask myself, that I think about to try and determine if the coming week is a good week to trade. So let's get into a few of them that I'm going to share with you. And then I'd love to see your comments below. If you like to do individual stock investing instead of mutual funds and things like that, I'd love to see the questions you ask yourself as you're planning your individual trades that you're going to make. So from a global perspective, one of the questions I ask myself every single week when I'm thinking about making some trades is, are there any global announcements that could happen or events that could happen that are going to impact uh, the U.S. economy in general, right? So if the U.S. economy, if an announcement occurs that is probably going to impact the U.S. economy, most likely that's going to feed into the stock market. Especially if it's bad news, we're going to see the market be down and probably people be doing some selling off. And a good example of this is the U.S.-China relations that are going on. Now, they're specifically going on around TikTok, and you might be overly focused on that. But that is not the only company that this is going to impact. U.S.-China relations, as they continue to struggle, are going to impact a lot of companies, particularly companies that are global, right? So perfect examples are going to be companies like Apple, right? So Apple sells a lot of iPhones over in China and in other places around the world. If the US goes through with its stance on TikTok and forces China to not necessarily approve, but to agree to this type of transaction, it plays heavy-handed with China. What do you think the reciprocation is going to be from China themselves? So if the U.S. government goes through with its stance on the TikTok sale, what are the chances that China then comes back and starts to impose some strict regulations on U.S. based companies that do business in China, right? So Apple and Tesla and all these others, right? So what are the chances that they do that? Maybe, and this is far-fetched, but maybe China just decides, you know what, no more Amazon doing business in our country. You can only do business with Alibaba, right? So the reciprocation globally is going to be, could be an announcement, could be a long-standing event that is going to impact the U.S. economy in general, and that will flow through into individual stocks and funds and all kinds of things. So again, this is a bit hearsay, so you want to research this yourself, but I'm hearing that China has a blacklist right now of companies that they are going to target that are U.S. based. So these types of events really impact the market and are things I think about when I determine if the coming week is going to be pretty volatile And if so, does that mean it's a good week to be making trades? When I move down the list in questions, as I move past this idea of global events that could impact the US economy and therefore the stock market, I then start to think about individual industries. Are there announcements and events that could come out about particular industries that would impact certainly those companies and stocks within that industry, but will that feed into others? So here's an example of that. Let's say that an announcement comes out. Matter of fact, yesterday, they announced that Johnson and Johnson is in phase 3 of the Corona or COVID-19 vaccine testing. They're in phase 3, which is pretty good progress in the amount of time that they've had. I think they're going to test something like 60,000 people. Certainly, announcements like that might create some confidence not only in Johnson and Johnson stock, but the industry, the biotech industry, the pharma industry that is involved with producing vaccines. So Johnson and Johnson is not the only company producing vaccines. There's Moderna, and I think Regeneron's in the mix. There are probably at least 10 or 15 companies that are working on a vaccine right now. So these types of announcements create some consumer confidence, which then feeds into individual stocks, which likely could push the whole industry, the sector, up a bit. And then the thing you have to think through is, if that happens, does that mean people's confidence then feeds over into other stocks that are not related? So again, I keep using Apple, but maybe someone or lots of people hear these announcements about potential vaccines. They make the leap in their mind to say, okay, that means we're getting closer. So that means things are probably going to start picking up again here going into the winter. I'm not so sure they're going to, but let's say this is the assumption someone is making. They make the leap that the progress with these vaccines is good. Schools are going to be opening back up. People are going to be going back to work. The U.S. economy is going to start thriving again. Restaurant workers won't be out of work, which will be great. All this big leap that they make when they hear this news. And so they use that to say, well, if that's true, that means business for Apple is going to pick back up. Business for Darden, it's a restaurant group of chains, is going to be going up. So they make these big leaps. So they start betting on or investing in other stocks outside of these vaccine producers, with the hopes that that sort of news will drive other sectors up. So again, announcements in this instance that aren't global, but they're industry based. So they're going to impact that industry. And then you very well could see an uptick in other industries based on my example, because confidence goes up. So a lot of this revolves around confidence. We look for announcements and events to drive the stock market. Perfect examples that are not related to companies is the Consumer Confidence Index when it comes out, unemployment numbers. All of these things are things that I consider when I'm thinking and planning ahead for trades that I may make. And when I keep saying may, it's usually because I have particular stocks in mind, and I'm going to see what they do when the market opens on Monday. And if they're moving in the direction that I want, which is usually down, I actually like to buy on the downside, then I will, keep an eye on them and possibly make a trade or investment in those companies. So as always, I have to encourage you that this is just my thoughts and my opinions about how I do things. Certainly do your own research, talk to a qualified financial advisor. There's my legal statement for you. But I hope this information helps you. If you are into trading, what a lot of the traders I know that aren't as experienced is they just focus on individual stocks, how they feel about those stocks. There's not much fundamental analysis and definitely no technical analysis. You don't have to get too fancy if you're going to do some trades, but I very much want you to get in the practice of thinking about what are announcements that could be coming that would impact the global economy, therefore impact individual sectors, therefore impact individual stocks. Until next time, hope that helps, and I hope you find your voice. See you later.